Hi everyone, Sunstrider here, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about Genshin Impact and the future of elemental reactions. This idea came to me after seeing the controversy of Dehia's banner, with her banner marks the upcoming patch 3.5 as well as the new Archon quest. Then, sooner or later, we are bound to see Fontainne in the upcoming patches. If we are seeing the pattern from the previous big patches, Inazuma released in patch 2.0 and Sumeru in patch 3.0. Considering that Hoyoverse is sticking to this pattern, in 4 patches away, we'll see Fontainne and the next big update that's coming to the game, including the main character's journey to find his or her sibling. With that in mind, I asked myself whether or not Fontainne brings new elemental reactions like Sumeru does, because when Dendro first came out, it successfully brought fresh new contents, allowing players to experiment and even bring some old units like Fischl to the meta. On top of that, releasing a brand new elemental reaction that corresponds with its region adds to the experience, as most of the exploration in Sumeru needs to be completed with Dendro element. Well, people might argue that Inazuma didn't have new elemental reactions when it was first announced, and I think there was no uproar from the community. But I guess it's just a human nature to craft something exciting once they've tested it. And once again, I think it's acceptable to ask this question considering there are still 3 regions left for players to explore: Fontainne, Natlan, and Snezhnaya. Talking about Fontainne, it will more than likely to bring a new water-inspired adventure to us as it's home of the Hydro Archon. But talking about Hydro, we've been using this element way back in the game, and based on this information comes my question. How does Hoyoverse keep the game interesting with 3 major regions to explore and elemental reactions that has been introduced way before its region or Archon release date? Well, yes, Genshin Impact has 4 selling points that keeps everyone interested: music, story, characters, and combat/exploration. Without a doubt, the game has been successful in growing its communities with these 4 and undoubtedly can survive in the near future. But if I really want to be specific and think about it, elemental reactions is the bread and butter in this game, and I can't stop wondering how Hoyoverse will bring this new elemental reaction to the next 3 regions. When the game first released, we are already presented with Anemo, Pyro, Cryo, Electro, and Geo. The problem with this is the fact that some of the elements where its region along with its Archon haven't been introduced to the game has been used in 2 major patches. Then there's Dendro element along with its Archon, who has a proper launching in patch 3.0 and really changes the tide of the game, even being one of the best elemental reactions to date. To me, patch 3.0 was done exceptionally well because it brings the Dendro elemental reactions and allows players to experiment and be overwhelmed with these reactions. On top of that, introduction of Dendro reaction that align with Sumeru region does make the whole experience feel more complete, from puzzles and world bosses that somehow force the player to really use Dendro to proceed further in this game. This very introduction inspired my previous question, because ideally, whenever Hoyoverse announce something big, they're more than likely to make a big buzz. Of course, this is done in order for people to notice them, ultimately making money, and this time, considering that all elemental reactions have been introduced, I think they are in a tight spot here, especially if they really consider that elemental reaction is bread and butter and one of key things in keeping the people interested. Aside from that, I think we all can remember how Regisfen and monsters that related to specific elements have been introduced to the game prior to their corresponding element, like the Oceanid in Liyue, Cryo and Pyro Regisfen in Mondstadt, as well as the Pyro and Cryo hypostasis. If we are going to compare the earlier bosses to the Dendro hypostasis and the Electro Regisfen in Sumeru, the earlier bosses seems to be launched in random manner without really considering their corresponding element, leaving Hoyoverse in a pinch as they have to think of new bosses with brand new element and concept in the upcoming patches. If Hoyoverse does release new elemental reaction that's related to Fontainne and its water-inspired design, then there's numerous things that water can turn itself into, from vaporize, melt, freeze, condensation, sublimation, and deposition. We've seen vaporize, melt, freeze, and transformative reactions that include Hydro and Dendro, the Bloom reaction. For future updates in the line of Hydro Archon, will there be some transformative Hydro reaction like how Dendro works, a sublime or condensed elemental reactions that provide bonus damage, or perhaps transformative reactions like condense that trigger when vaporize elemental reactions followed up by cryo and deals a certain amount of damage. Even if Hoyoverse decided not to bring a new elemental reaction on Fontainne update, I think it's objectively okay because they just released Dendro, and I understand if it takes time to develop a brand new element, and I think at the moment, the community is still satisfied with how Dendro works. However, once Fontainne finishes, how does the game present something new to the players aside from characters, which indirectly mean gacha, and main character story of finding their long-lost sibling? Will they resort to their current best practices with events, free primogems, and resources, or will they be able to bring new elemental reactions to bring brand new content to the game? What do you guys think? Do you guys think that there will be new elemental reaction in the future? Comment below and let's discuss.